welcome to another episode of The Best Is Yet to Come, Season 3. I am your host, Stephanie Seigle. And once again, we have an amazing show lined up for you this evening. We have a very special guest in the audience. However, before I introduce him to you all, I just want to thank each and every one of you for your support. And for those that are new to our platform, just let me give you a little history on what our goal is here at The Best Is Yet to Come. It is my belief that we all that are able to give back, we need to give back. And this is just one of the ways that we here at The Best Is Yet to Come give back. We use our platform for people to share their stories of things that they have overcame, things that they are doing in the community in a positive way to give back. This particular season is called Changing the Narrative. That is the theme for this season. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our guest tonight. Welcome, Mr. Lovelee Harvey.
It's gotta woosah, let them positive vibes come in and that good energy. First of all, hello everybody, and thank you very much, Stephanie, for having me.
Yes.
Again, like my sister just said, my name's Lovelee Harvey, and I'm actually highly honored to be here today. And again, I appreciate the invite, and I appreciate the opportunity to take this time to spread a message of positivity, hope, elevation, and the greatness and how amazing life can be in general when a narrative changes. So again, thank you for having me, and I look forward to spending this time with you tonight talking about the greatness of how life can be when the narrative gets changed.
All right. Well, you know what? Before we go any further, to show our token of appreciation, not for just being on the show, but for what you do in the community. Thank you.
Whoa, thank you.
You're welcome.
This is beautiful. So let me just turn this around so y'all can see, because, you know, love is love, and I'm all about love. And look at that, my own lovely mug.
Here you go.
And for the mouse for my computer, and I got share. And look, and it's going to keep on getting better because the best is still yet to come.
That's right. That's what we're talking about.
Thank you so much, sis.
You're welcome. So, tell us exactly what it is that you do in the community.
Okay. So, do you want me to start from what I do, what I used to do, where I'm at now, or just talk about what I talk about?
Okay. Well, tell them what you do, and then we'll kind of go
Then
back
we'll
and
go
forth.
back?
Yes.
Okay. So, I do a little bit of everything, actually. Like, it's my honest and most sincere hope that any individual suffering from substance use disorder, mental health, homelessness, domestic violence, living and running the streets with violence, just anything negative that's making a bad influence or impact on their life as well as others. It's my sincerest hope that I let people know and spread the word that anybody can go from a mess to a message.
Come on now.
If you believe in yourself. And sometimes you got to find hope outside of yourself to stop believing in yourself again. So I spent so many years tearing down and terrorizing my community that I feel as though within my spirit I'm obligated, because I know I'm supposed to be building my community. So I take it personal, and it means a lot to me to be in a position now, after being a mess for so many years, to be a message now. So I'm a recovery coach. I'm not what you will call a community activist, but wherever some things are going on, you'll probably always see me showing up at the spot, because I'm just about seeing the change in my community, and I don't think nobody would be better fit to do something that I'm doing, like I'm doing, that hasn't come or been a product of that environment, who now has made a change, so it's actual and factual. And the proof is in the person, that you can actually see the possibilities and the hope. So I like being an example of hope. And I'm going to get into it later, I'm sure, with the questions my sister will ask. But from going from selling bags of dope to giving out bags of hope
Come on
is a
now.
big change. And I appreciate the opportunity that God has presented in my life and placed me in this position to be able to give back and help others.
Thank you. Wow, that's great. So, how long has it been since you've been doing the type of work that you do?
I've been helping people all my life.
Okay.
Thank you, Mom. My mom up in heaven, because she's always taught me to have, I was raised, education-wise and with a great heart, with morals, values, and principles, regardless of the bad decisions that I made that had nothing to do with the way she raised me. She always taught me right from wrong. So I've always, cared about people, but it just got to a point in my life where, because I wasn't focused on caring for myself, it was hard to care about anything outside of myself.
Okay.
But I've always been good-hearted and good-natured, a loving person, or a lovely person, as my
Okay.
mom would say.
Okay. All right. So now you just said that you've always liked to help. That's pretty much part of your nature. At what point, or what occurred in your life to, I don't want to say make you decide that you wanted to do the things that you were doing that brought you to the point where you are now?
A lot of times what people fail to realize or don't get the whole picture with is that a lot of people are easily influenced
Okay.
by what they see. It doesn't matter what they hear, because it's not about what they hear first. It's about the visual.
Right.
And for me to be in a position where people could actually see the possibilities, it's almost like unfathomable that when people look at me, I don't have to say a word, but we have a whole conversation.
Okay.
Like I learned, in school, like body language is a major portion
Yes.
of conversation and
Right.
communication. The
Right.
majority of it, maybe like 70% or more.
Right.
But just by the body language and the response and the reactions, when people see me, they just know. Either they know my backstory, or there's something about my character and my energy and the way that I carry myself that just invites people in, where, I'm approachable. People just see the goodness and feel those vibes, and they know. Like
Right.
sometimes they just know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. I like to call it that spiritual connection, if you will.
Absolutely. People just gravitate towards me.
Right.
I've
Right.
always, I got that. I can't say always, but I've always had it, even though I was suppressing it. Because there was a time when, I couldn't, but it was still in me. So after, some work, some layers being peeled off, some deep digging inside, some asking for help and accepting the help, some making the necessary changes and standing up for myself like a man is supposed to,
Okay.
which was a big difference for me.
Okay.
But actually standing up for myself, and I know people, what do you mean stand up for yourself? Learning to respect myself enough not to disrespect myself
Okay.
anymore.
Okay. I was going to ask you that. What did you mean? But you answered that for us.
When I was going back and forth to prison, I was disrespecting myself.
Right.
Not even looking outside of myself like what my mother and my grandmother and my aunts and my family instilled in me, raised in me, but I was disrespecting myself.
Right.
So the trickle effect and the domino effect, it affected everybody else.
Right.
When I was selling drugs and didn't want to accept another positive way to make a living and earn money and take care of myself and take care of my family and still risking my freedom, I was disrespecting myself.
Right.
When I was using drugs and killing myself on a daily basis, not having a care in the world about anybody else, I was disrespecting myself.
Right.
So to gain that self-worth and that confidence and that love and start applying that self-care again and continue on a daily basis not to put myself in a position where I even have to make a choice whether I'm going to disrespect myself or not, and not allowing anybody else to put me in a position where I have to disrespect myself. Because those decisions are lose-lose. They never win-win.
Right. Now, you talked about taking the layers off. Let's talk about that for a moment. What was that process like, and how difficult was that to peel back those layers?
See, what's the best way to put this? Because I'm still peeling back.
Right, absolutely.
There's no such thing as completing life's cipher when it comes to getting better, when it comes to healing, when it comes to mental health, when it comes to depression, when it comes to anxiety. But there is a process and some steps that you can take towards feeling and doing better.
Right.
Do I still have down days, bad days, aggravated days, which I don't stay in a bad thought process. Like, I continue to think myself out of that negative energy mode, but it still happens.
Right.
But it's just like, a friend texts me all the time, and one of the memes that she texts me is said, like, some things don't get easier, but as you continue to work on yourself, you'll get stronger.
I like that.
And a perfect example is, like, it's never going to be easy to deal with my mom being gone, but her birthday was last week, and by the way that I moved, the way that I acted, even the way that I talked about it, I could feel and tell that I was getting stronger.
Okay. Okay.
So, asking for help. Like, see, a lot of us grew up on misinformation and miseducation, right? You know, like we talked before.
Absolutely.
The misinformed
Right.
do the misinforming.
Right.
Like, a man is not a punk or weak or a sucker or any of those stigmatized names that go along with that if you show vulnerability, if you ask for help, if you accept some help, if you say that I can't do it by myself. Because nobody was designed by God to do anything by themselves.
Right. Right.
He's the only one that could do that.
Right.
And actually, he even has help.
Right.
Us.
Absolutely.
How about that?
Absolutely. That's a good point that you just, mentioned about why do you feel that our society puts these type of labels on us and at some point make us feel that we're supposed to live up to that? Like you said, if a man asks for help, he sometimes be considered as a punk, which that's not true.
It's absolutely not. But a lot of it has to do with cultural competency.
Okay.
In our culture, in our neighborhoods, growing up, again with the misinformation, that's the information that was passed down to us and how we were taught to look at things. Get us beaten, you cry, but you better not cry.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You let them chase you home, you better go back outside and fight. You ain't
Right.
ain't no son of mine's gonna be no punk.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we grew up on that, like, you're hurting, you're in pain, you're suffering, and the tears are running down your face, and don't you dare cry. Toughen up. So those are the misinformations. And like, my family, like, I don't blame anybody for that because they passed on what they had.
Right. Exactly.
You know, they did the best with the tools that they had to work with.
Right.
But this is how the narrative is changed.
Right.
By learning better so we can do better.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, so how do you feel that we are doing with that in terms of changing the narrative?
I feel like we're doing great.
Okay.
Because a lot of times, excuse me, a lot of times people don't understand the plight or the struggle that a lot of people like me went through, suffered through, are still alive through.
Right.
So when people like hear my story or see what I'm doing today, they're like, "Oh, Lovelee, you're doing so good. Lovelee, you're amazing." And like, to me, like, I'm blessed.
Right.
I'm super humble, super grateful,
Right.
and I'm blessed. But I can understand how people will see it that way because it's miraculous to them and it's different to them. But I have plenty of friends who are amazing like me. Like, I wish a lot more would make it out of those trenches.
Right.
But there's a whole bunch like me that's doing the work, that made it out. And guess what? We didn't forget.
That's right.
We couldn't all go through that doorway together, but now that we crossed that threshold, we go back and bring people through.
Right. And see, that's what's so important. Like I said, I just feel like we that are able to do we are supposed to give back,
Absolutely.
you know?
It's a must.
Right.
Like, where I'm at in my life, doing the things that I do for myself make me a good person. But doing the things that I do for others makes me a great person.
Right.
Because now it's the greatness of a power greater than myself, along with my spirit.
Right.
Because people, like, God gets the glory in my story. I'm not a religious guru with all the in-betweens, but when it comes to a higher power, spirituality, and the connection with the universe and the oneness with myself, I'm all in.
All right
So he
now.
definitely gets the glory, but I do the work.
Right.
God wasn't sleeping behind dumpsters.
Right.
God wasn't breaking in hallways to sleep.
Right.
God wasn't getting high around the clock.
Right.
God wasn't disappointing his kids. God wasn't letting down his mother.
Right.
This is what I was doing.
Right.
So that's the work that I have to do for the restoration, for the rebuilding, the restructuring, the standing upright like a man.
Right.
You know, and people like leave that part out sometimes.
Right.
Like, it takes some work to change the narrative.
Right. Now, how hard was it for you to change the narrative?
It was absolutely almost life-taking hard
Okay. Explain that to us. Let's talk a little more about that.
because I lost hope.
Okay.
I was hopeless, felt helpless, homeless, with a home,
Now, how are you homeless with a home?
because I wouldn't go home.
Okay. Okay.
I would have much rather be in the streets
Okay.
doing what I was doing.
Okay. So at what point did you say, I can't continue like this? Or what was that epiphany, if you will?
I had little spurts here and there, even though, like, when I tell my story, like, and I'm like 100% authentic about like how I really felt at that time. And as you know, one of my big brothers, Omawali, would say, at that time I was doing the best that I could do.
Okay.
At that time, that's the best that I could do, and the best that I could come up with was, I'm gonna die out here anyway, so I might as well have fun while I'm doing what I'm doing, because that's how I saw things. But there was always, because I've always had the right information, those little spurts of time and a moment, or not even a moment, maybe a glimpse or a second of clarity. But I was so caught up in the grips that just those thoughts wasn't enough.
Okay.
And I didn't have it within me to put the actions behind those thoughts.
Okay.
Because it was all about getting that next one, finding ways and means to get more with that vicious cycle.
Okay.
And even when something else might have mattered a little bit, it didn't matter enough.
Okay. So there had to be a moment that, whether you said it, but your actions started producing the change, or that you wanted to change. Let's talk about that.
Well, I sat in a cell for about 2 months, which was like maybe one of the shortest times I've ever been, in custody.
Okay.
Because I've had my bouts with, the Department of Corrections and so on, have you. But I was beaten. I was broken.
Okay.
And I was to the point that when I did have that moment of clarity, some different thoughts started coming in my head in the other direction, even though I didn't buy all the way in yet.
Okay.
Like, it was still in me because I wasn't that far removed from my madness. Like, if you've just walked 20 years into the woods and you walk 1 year back,
You're still in the woods.
you're still in the woods.
Right.
You still got a long way to
Right.
go.
Right.
But what happened was, once I came back in that direction, I didn't stop this time
Okay.
and turn around.
Okay.
So I started chipping away. I got that moment of clarity. It actually came, I was pretty much undecided, because you can have some of the right thoughts when the fog starts clearing up a little bit, but you're still dealing with a disease that's right here.
Right.
And your thinking is still distorted.
Right.
Your mind is still in the fog. It's still a warped sense of reality-based ideas and behaviors. So I was still in between until the situation came about where I was actually going into treatment, or so I thought. Now, part of me was like, yeah, I want to go, but the other part was like, If I go, I can still leave. But when it turned into I might not be going, and I was in that cell in the back of Roxbury Court, I told God I wasn't going to lie to him no more.
Okay.
Because I don't know about anybody else, but I'm sure a lot of people that hear this will be able to relate and identify with the how many times in our lives that we've told God we wouldn't do it, told God this is the last time,
Right.
if you just get me out of this one,
Right.
all of
That
those,
bargaining, I like to call it.
yeah, all of that bargaining
Right.
that we never hold up to.
Right.
And I told him this time, if he sees this through for me, my mind's completely made up on this side. I'm not
Okay.
going to lie to you no more.
Okay.
And I haven't looked back since. Well, actually, I have looked back. I look back all the time. But it's not with a vision or mourning for what I left behind. It's with the empathy, the sympathy, the love, and the gratitude that I have for my people that's still there that I
Okay.
know can do it too. So
Okay.
I don't just look back, I go back.
Okay. Okay. Now, what has been the most difficult part of coming out those woods, as you said?
The most difficult part is the realization that there's no losses. There's a lot of wins. There's no losses, just lessons.
Okay.
But human wise, you still have those moments where you're like, I can't say regrets, but it could, quite possibly, that might be the best way to frame it,
Okay.
of the time that was not wasted but lost.
Okay.
Because you can have, like, people have millions and gazillions of dollars, right? And lose it all
Mm-hmm.
and can get it back again.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that with
With
time.
time. That's right.
You cannot do it with time.
That's right.
Like, I'm way past the mark of half of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting those times back. But because of my experience, because of my ups, my downs, my ins, my outs, I'm going to be able to pass on a message and change the narrative of truth and hope for
Right.
somebody else not to lose 20 years.
Right.
That's the blessing.
Right. Now, what does that do for you, knowing that you have gone through this to be a blessing or to give back to someone else?
It's fulfilling
Okay.
because, you know what? I don't go to funerals because, one of the hardest things I dealt with was, losing my mom.
Right.
But, I still show love to the families. I might show up to the repast, and there's some that I have to go to,
Right.
but I don't make it like, my nightclub thing,
Right.
and no disrespect to anybody that goes to a lot. Like,
Right.
if I went to everybody's funeral that died, I'd be at one every day.
Right.
But let's see, what's the best way? Just not wanting to see people die that don't have to. And I guess I don't know if it was like the hardest thing for me, but I guess it's really not. It's just the best thing for me that is so fulfilling that I'm now in a position
Okay.
just to be able to help people. Like, I'm the change I want to see.
All right.
I am the change I want to see.
Okay.
Like, all the things I wish for, hoped for, prayed for, this type of person. I wish I had this. I wish they would have did this. Why didn't they say this? Why didn't they show me this? Somebody else is saying those same things right now, and I'm showing up for them.
Okay. Now let me ask you this, being that you put it like this, do you feel, I'm sure looking back, if you could have changed the narrative, maybe you would have changed it, but do you feel, how much do you feel what you went through has helped shape who you are today and how you give back? Not having gone through what you've gone through, do you think that you would be able to give as much of
No,
yourself?
it wouldn't be the same.
Okay.
It wouldn't be the same. Because here's the thing. So many people are so intelligent, book-wise. Like, they got them scarves around them from Harvard and Yale and Brown and, all of those great educational places.
Right.
But nobody from any of those places could have came to me and said, yo, young bro, listen, this is what you do. This is how I can, like, don't know my story.
Right.
You don't come from where I come from.
Right.
Like, you've never been through what I've been through. And it's not that they could have been wrong. They could have been 100% right with the information that they were trying to give me.
Right.
But sometimes it takes your people to bring you up, to bring you out, for you to listen to.
Right.
People that are still caught up in substance use disorder, mental health, and all those other things I mentioned earlier, those are still my people.
Right.
Those,
Right.
because I was right there in the
Right.
midst of it. So it's different when it comes from your people.
Right. And you
It's,
know, you and I talked about that earlier. I shared with you some of my story and where I came from in terms of my brother, and, him dealing with, and I couldn't understand initially, why couldn't he just stop?
Yeah.
And as I went on in life, understanding, meeting people like you, because I definitely didn't get it out the book,
Right.
meeting people like you and getting a better understanding, it's not just that simple sometimes,
it's really not.
So it gave me a different outlook, and that's where my passion, come from. Yeah.
No, I definitely understand. Like, I saw something, right? Because a lot of people, if you're on the outside looking in with no experience or dealings with those type of situations, you really don't know,
Right.
right? So people like addiction, what? Why don't you just stop?
It's not
So
that
I'm
simple.
challenging anybody that's listening to us right now and saying that, right? Put your phone down for an hour and see if you pick it up
Right.
before an hour's over. That's what it feels like times 1,000. When you just got to do something against your own. Tell yourself you're not going to pick that phone up for an hour and see how long you last.
Right. And not only is it a mental thing, it can also be a physical thing,
Both.
you know?
Absolutely.
Now, which one do you think is a stronger hold,
The mental.
the mental?
Absolutely. Because the obsession can still be there long after the possession is gone. Long after you put the drugs down, if you don't work on dealing mentally with removing that obsession, you can not get high for years. But if you're still moving the same way you moved when you was getting high and thinking
Right.
it's okay to do all the things you was doing when you was using, but not picking up, but those thoughts are still there, it's just a matter of time.
Time. Right. Right.
Yeah, so the mental is really hard.
Right.
That's why you have to surround yourself with people, build up a great network, take some suggestions, some support. But the real thing that really changed my life for me was being honest with myself.
Okay.
Like, the gig was up.
Okay.
Being honest with myself, open enough to accept some help, and willing to really do the work to make some complete changes to totally remove myself from the way of life that I once lived to a new way of life that was going to be fruitful, enhancing, better, elevating,
Right.
just great, like, and amazing all around. Like, I don't
Right.
have mansions and yachts and boats, but I'm happy.
And
My,
that's sometimes more important than all
my
that stuff.
grandchildren go crazy when they see me. They love to see me.
Right.
My
That's
kids
good.
trust me again. And I've never stolen or beat them or took from them anything, but I disappointed them. I let them down. Like, they know when they call, I'm going to answer.
Okay.
Like I said it before, and I always say it, my best ability today is availability.
Okay.
Because I get to show up today. And I
Okay.
stand on my word.
Now, how was it before you got to that point? How was your relationship with your kids, with your family?
My family has always loved me. Never turned their back on me.
Okay.
Always loved me, always there. But I removed myself out the picture because of what I was doing.
Okay.
And although removing myself out the picture still affected my family, I know they still never stopped loving me because I know they wanted better for me.
Right.
And it crushed them to see what I was doing to myself. So disappointing them, it wasn't about me getting it together and trying to force myself on them or look at me, or I'm doing this, or you should believe me, or excuse me. It was just about me working on me and doing what I had to do and letting the fruits speak for itself.
Right.
And gradually and slowly, they started to see that, okay, my dad's back.
Now, What do you
Excuse me.
say to a person, or maybe even a family member, that has a loved one? Excuse me. Has a loved one. Excuse me. That actively using, and then decides that this is not what they want to do, and maybe they have 6 months under their belt, and the family still isn't trusting, and because stuff that has happened in the past with their loved one, and the loved one feel that they should just be welcomed with open arms.
What we tend to realize or forget to realize is that we cause some pain, we cause some damage, we cause some hurt. There's some healing there. And a lot of healing doesn't come out of I'm sorry. And a lot of healing is not going to come out of I won't do it again. Because how many times have they heard that and we've done it again? And we wasn't sorry. Sorry means never doing it again.
Okay.
Sorry doesn't mean give me a chance to do the same thing to you again.
Right.
You know what I mean? So put the work in. This is what I would tell somebody. Keep doing the next right thing,
Okay.
even when nobody's looking, because your character is what's going to shine and expose and show and reflect what the real deal is. Because you're fair. Like, even when I go to meetings, like, I speak well, I'm articulate, I know how to put a few sentences together. People, oh, lovely, good. But my family knows. Like, you get an hour and a half here, you get a
Right.
few hours at work. You're around people that you're not around or deal with on a consistent basis. But if you ask my family how I'm doing, what's really going on, they're going to give you the real deal.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that's the big difference. But I would say, like, do the work. You can't force nobody to believe in you. But when they're supposed to believe in you, they're going to believe in you.
Okay.
And that's what happens. We want everybody, like, you just finished running amok 20 years this way. They have every right not to trust you.
Right.
Excuse me. And the thing about it is the acceptance that it's not their job to trust you right now. It's your job to get your life together so that trust is earned again.
Right. Right. And that sometimes can be very difficult.
It is.
Right.
But the focus has to be on yourself. See, that's what I did for me. Like, it didn't matter. Like, I had no intentions of doing anything for my kids, for my children's mothers, for my family, nobody but myself. But in building back myself, I knew those other things would come into play.
Okay. And that makes sense. We talked about that earlier too. Let's talk about, I was sharing with you, I met you last year, but I had heard your story, well, part of your story, I think maybe a year and a half before I even met you. And I was just really amazed. And one of the things that was said that you were in a wheelchair on Mass Ave.
A couple of times.
And then look at you now. I mean, you are definitely a sign of hope.
From mess to message.
There you go.
Absolutely. So I've actually been in a wheelchair a few times, whether it was through, street violence, substance use, self-neglect. You know what I mean? I just been through it in so many different ways, but all resorting back to substance use,
Okay. Okay.
And yeah, I ended up in a bad way. Like, nobody tells us when we're young cats trying to hustle and get money and playing with guns. Like, I don't even think it was really up to them to tell us, because they probably didn't know either. They were just following suit with the things that they learned coming up. But we never got the whole picture until the whole picture got us.
Wow. That's deep.
And that's what happened to a lot of us. You know what I mean? We seen the flashy jewelry, we seen the nice cars, we seen the women around the men, we seen them always having money, we seen their gangster lean and them nodding and doing drugs but still maintaining, so it appeared to us. But we didn't get the 40 years in jail they're about to get. We didn't get, the the people shooting them and killing them and robbing them. We didn't get the disappointing their families. We didn't get the domestic, the violence and abuse that was going on behind closed doors at the home to the children. Like all of that, we had no clue.
Right.
You know what I mean? We didn't get the whole, you know, the FBI, the raids, the
Right.
indictments, you know what I mean? The drug habits,
Right.
you know, caught up on a whole nother level because it was social for us as young kids.
Right.
You know what I mean? Do this, do that, have fun, party. You know what I mean?
Right.
So a lot of things we didn't see it coming.
Now, why do you feel that people, like how you're doing, and there are so many others, we talked about this earlier, that have gone, you know, was actually in the trenches, now they're in the trenches pulling people out. Why do you feel that so many people, the older, as my son, not this son, my other son, like old heads, didn't, you know, say, no, don't do that, you know, because
Because
this is what it,
that's what we was taught.
okay.
That's what we learned. Like, I actually apologized to my younger cousin like a couple of weeks ago for misleading him, you know, for decades, from like 40 years back. You know what I mean? But just giving him the wrong information.
Right.
You know, just being an example of what not to do, but thinking that was the way to go. You know, and today, like, there's a lot of people that I've actually led the wrong way. And some of them, they don't care that I'm doing, they respect me because I'm doing the right thing and doing good, but they're still going in the other direction. But all I can do is continue to be who I am, where I am, and continue to do what I do with the hopes that when they're ready, they'll come to me because they know there's another way.
Right.
And they're seeing that there's another way no matter what.
Right.
But the misinformation was just passed on, and, you know, we didn't have the whole story, and we passed it along like it was, you know, the Bible.
Right.
And it really wasn't.
Now, you just said that there were people that you misled. They see where you are now. Did they see where you were at when you were at your lowest?
Absolutely.
So, and I guess it's human nature. I mean, we probably don't have the answer to that. Why is it that that's not enough for them to, like, wait a minute?
Because some of them don't have a substance use intake problem.
Okay.
They have a substance use outtake problem.
Okay.
Meaning, you know, as long as they get high off of it and their life is fine financially, you know, and everything else wise, there's not a problem there.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right. So they think.
So they think.
Right.
And that's pretty much what it boils down to. And some of them, you know, that's what they think is still the way of life. And they see that there's differences, you know what I mean? Like, when they see me, they're like, yo, bro, keep doing what you're doing. Like, when I got out that sheriff's van at Salvation Army in Saugus, right?
What year was that?
That was 2020.
Okay.
But I actually got sat down in December 19,
Okay.
right? I was like 140 pounds, walking with a cane. My whole face was bearded up like, you know, Kris Kringle, bent over, you know, probably like a size 26 waist, you know, like hurting. Couldn't put a whole sentence together.
Wow.
And when I walked past the mirror, I had to look the other way because I knew I was going to cry because I was just so crushed inside for what I did to myself, because that's not how I raised, that's not me.
Right.
But it's what I put myself or allowed myself to be in position for now these things to continue, because I got the information a long time ago, but I never changed my way of life. Like, I would put down the drugs, but I still wanted to sell them. I still wanted to, you know, be in the streets. I still wanted to, you know, do illegal things, even though I wasn't using. And then eventually, I ended up using. It wasn't until this time that I totally, without inkling of negativity, turned my life in another direction.
That's good.
Even with the struggles. And to be honest, like, I really haven't struggled. You know, I've taken the get well jobs. I've taken the little jobs here. You know what I mean? But, like, it's been a smooth ride, even with the goods, bads, ups and downs.
Okay.
Because I was just sleeping on a sidewalk. You know, not changing my clothes for over a year. So if you don't, like, realistically, if somebody's not changing their clothes for over a year, you know that pretty much adds up to they ain't washed their behind in over a year either.
Right.
Like, it didn't mean anything to me in this universe outside of getting high. Like, there was no reason for me to get in a shower if there wasn't some drugs in there.
Okay.
That's the point that the substance use and the disease of addiction reduced me to.
Okay.
So absolutely, talk about grateful.
Come on now.
My worst day clean is nothing like them days out there.
Right. Wow.
Like, I still got a life to celebrate.
Right.
Like, situations happen in my life on a regular that don't go my way, but they still go my way.
Now explain that.
Okay? So here's a situation that happened. What's today? Monday? So, maybe last week. Yeah, last week. Okay. I had plans. Like, I just bought a new car. But, you know, being a spoiled little brat, self-spoiled little brat, and a hard-working man now,
Right.
you know, it's all right to have nice things. That's
Right.
the other thing, too. Like, personally, I don't get it when people don't want to have nice
Right.
things when they get their life together.
Right.
I didn't get my life together not to have nice
Right.
things, you know? But I don't fill my God box with material things. You know, I
like that.
keep my line up with my spirit first and foremost. But that's something for another show.
There you go.
But what happened? However, what happened was I had intentions on trading my car that I just bought for a different car because I thought, oh, you know what, this is nice, but you know, I want this one instead, and everything was set up. So this is maybe a month ago, 5 weeks ago, I bought the car, and like the next week, made the deal, had the conversation, blah, blah, blah. So last maybe Monday, the car place called me and said, listen, come in, can you come in Thursday and do the paperwork for the other car? So that way when we get the rest of the papers for it, you can just come scoop in and keep it moving. I'm like, yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Right.
I'm like, okay, you know. So see what I'm saying? Things are going my way.
Right.
You know, I'm working hard, I'm paying my bills, I'm you know, doing the right thing. I'm not splurging. I'm learning financial discipline with my little twos and fews. But I'm doing stuff that's good for me, and I'm doing it the right way. Like, not a negative dollar or drug dollar or streets. I didn't rob nobody, manipulate nobody, hurt nobody. So, like, I really did it the right way.
Right.
So now I'm in a position to be able to do some things and have some choices. I got options. So I'm like, yeah, I want that car instead.
Right.
Another nice car, right? So I was supposed to go Thursday. Wednesday, somebody hits me. Little lady, Caucasian lady, bang, runs right into me, right? First off, just the way I handled the situation was God's work within me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Just the way I handled the situation, right? That's the first thing.
Okay.
The second thing is, even when the car people, after I had talked to them and, you know, they were like, don't worry about it, come tomorrow, we're going to figure it out. Then the next day, you know, an hour before I was on my way up there, they called me. Like, you're not on your way yet, are you? And I'm like, no, not yet. And they're like, well, good. Don't want to waste your time. Unfortunately, because of the situation last night, it's kind of moves you from the running with the situation that we had worked out. However, there's some options that we can visit. I said, no. Listen, my money that I gave you, just put it back on my card and have a nice day. No worries. Like, I wanted to do that, but obviously some took place beyond my control
Right.
that changed the whole narrative of that situation.
Right.
So what do I do now? Get mad, let it affect the next couple hours of my night, prevent me from doing what I need to do, focusing, being positive? No. I had a plan. God had a plan.
Right.
Which one is better for me? Obviously his, because I don't know what was going to happen down the line.
Right.
So that's how I looked at it. That's how I accepted it. And I didn't lose a wink of sleep. And the moral to the story is, even though I didn't get my way, I'm stuck in a Porsche.
Okay. There you go. There you go.
Oh my God. Really? So, you know,
Right,
but I'm
right.
just saying, like, and I mean, handling situations like an adult.
Right.
You know, my friend says adulting.
Right.
You know,
Now, 10 years prior, if you were in the same position, being able, well, financially to do that, would you have how you responded?
what do you mean financially?
Well, I'm saying if 10 years ago, if you were able to make those type of moves and what happened, would you have responded the way that you did?
Probably not.
Okay.
Because 10 years prior, I would probably would have been making those type of moves off of ill-gotten gains,
Okay.
right? And that's where my mentality would have been,
Okay.
in the streets,
Okay.
reacting from a street point of view.
Okay.
Excuse me. So, absolutely not.
Okay. So growth all around.
All around.
Okay. All right.
Like, I'm just like, okay, it wasn't meant, like, to understand that when you do some things and you're crossing your T's and you're dotting your I's, but they don't go how you want them to go, and it's no fault of your own, there needs to be some acceptance around that because it's a bigger plan.
Right.
That door closed for 5 more doors to
Say
open.
it. Say it.
See, my spirit don't do ones and twos no more. The best has yet to come, and it's
on
still
now.
coming.
Come on
Like,
now.
this is my floor. How great my life is right now is still my floor. I haven't even got close to my ceiling, my roof, the sky, and that's where my focus, because I see better for myself. I want better for myself. I deserve better for myself. So I put the work in now to do for myself.
Right.
And it's paying off lovely.
Right.
No pun intended.
Well, that's a good segue. Let's talk about your name.
Everybody wants to talk about
Right,
the
let's
love.
right.
Okay, so, like, my name is Lee. I've been carrying Lovelee for maybe 30 plus years now. My mom calls me Lovelee because she loved this Lee because my dad is Lee, and she just is mad at him. But that's my pops. That's my
Right.
dog. Love him. Shout out to my pops.
Right.
Because without Big Lee, there
would
would
be
be no
little-
Little
right.
Lee. But to be lovely is also attributed. It's, to have a moral, beautiful, and or spiritual character, to be highly pleasing, exquisite, enchanting, just greatness all around.
Okay.
And who better than me to wear that title?
All right now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, we've talked about different things, the work that you do. You've given back, being a part of making a difference. Where are the shortcomings do you see, or the obstacles that you see in doing what you're trying to do?
I mean, there's plenty of resources. Excuse me. There's not as much as I would like to have, like when I'm calling around trying to get a bed, because that's what I do. As a recovery coach, we meet people where they're at.
Right.
I'm part of a street addiction team, as well as working in the prison and stuff like that. Like, I'm out with a doctor, Dr. Becky Lee.
Okay.
She's the bomb. Jen, the other Becky, Mike Jellison, like Dr. Dave. There's a whole group from Healthcare for the Homeless, from Bob and McGinnis, right, that really beat feet in the trenches.
Okay.
And they're true allies. Like, they're not people of different ethnic backgrounds who are like just there for a selfie or just there so they can say, I was there.
Right.
No, they're there putting in the work.
Okay.
And like, if they weren't authentic, we wouldn't be around each other doing what we do. Because I really feel as though just because you're not of that community and not of that background, that if you're a true ally, you belong there just like I do.
Thank you.
And you're appreciated doing the work. And they love me. And I love them because I can tell the difference.
Right.
I can feel the vibe. I know the energy. And like, they're really out there beating feet, doing the work. But back to the original question of one of the obstacles, it's like there's so much money in treatment, and it's almost like, why is there still a shortage of beds?
Right.
Or why is it so hard to get somebody in the treatment when they're ready, because you can't put a time frame on the gift of desperation.
Right.
You never know when it's going to be.
Right.
Like if I had one thing to design towards, excuse me, resources and plannings, it would be more around the clock treatment availability.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, a lot of us, like myself, we work 9 to 5 jobs, maybe 7 to 3, you know, maybe 8 to 4. But from that time when we're all off the clock and home with our families or home or whatever, addiction is still going.
Right.
So we need, the disease doesn't stop.
Right.
Neither should we.
Right.
You know, like I'm out after hours sometimes, my other job that I was doing. But once you have on a recovery coach hat, when the clock stops with your pay, the clock doesn't stop with your job.
Right. Right.
Like, if somebody calls me at 9 o'clock at night and says, bro, I need help, I could never bring myself to say, call me in the morning, I'm not working right now.
Right.
It's going to be, hold on, where you at? I'm making some calls, I'm on my way to you, because I have to. Now, are other people built like that? Absolutely not.
Right.
But I have to.
Right. Now, why do you feel that you're different when it comes to that? I mean, I'm sure there are other people out there that feel
Right.
that way, but
I'm different because that's me.
okay.
Like, I truly believe that. Like, I know that in my heart. Like, that's my village. That's my people.
Okay.
Like, I know their struggle firsthand.
Okay.
And when somebody gets to that point with the gift of desperation, that they're making that call for help, there's no time for pause.
Right.
Like, either they're going to change their mind, or worse, they might die.
Yeah. Let's talk, we talked about this earlier, let's talk about harm reduction and your thoughts on harm reduction.
Okay, so, shout out to my supervisor, Wendia.
Okay.
She's a rock star.
Okay.
Because the first thing she's going to tell people about harm reduction is, listen, harm reduction been around for years. Remember there used to be cars with no seat belts?
Right.
And now there's seat belts in cars?
Right.
That's harm reduction.
Okay.
Remember the epidemic and everything going on with the HIV and the AIDS?
Yes.
And they started making a great push about, you know, no glove, no love,
Right.
put on a condom.
Right.
That's harm reduction.
Reduction.
Right? We're just at a level now that what's going bananas in our communities, inside the urban community and outside, is the substance use disorders with people dying. Narcan is harm reduction.
Right.
Preventative measures to keep people from dying is harm reduction, as well as preventing people from having secondary diseases when they do decide to get clean or make that decision to get their life together, that they don't have a whole bunch of other things medically that they have to deal with as well.
Right.
I'm a product of harm reduction.
Okay.
Did I like it? No. That's to cuss people out.
Now, why didn't you like it?
Because I didn't care.
Okay.
I was at that state of hopelessness where it didn't matter to me. And it was interrupting my eye.
Okay.
And I didn't care if I died. So you're messing up my thing.
Okay.
But I'm so grateful now
Okay.
that they didn't listen to me.
Okay.
Excuse me. So I say like this. There's a lot of people, right, who are like, why are they passing out these kits, these things, these safe tools for using, right? And like I explained to you, if the city opens up a pond and says, everybody in the water, go swim, and everybody jumps in the water and goes swimming, okay, cool. But if everybody's in that water and they're all starting to drown little by little, and we come by and we throw them rubber duckies, we throw them lifesavers, we put the poles out, right? To keep them from drowning. Who's the bad guys?
Not us.
Not us.
Right.
We're just giving them some help
Right.
to prevent them from dying.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Right.
We didn't open up those swimming pools. We didn't tell all those people to put those tents and letting them and gates up, but we're supposed to walk by them and let them
act like
die
it's not
if we
right.
can help them.
Right. Right.
People didn't let me die. How about that?
Right.
People didn't let me die.
So you feel a sense
So not on my watch.
of, right. Right. Unfortunately, this has been great. We got like 3 minutes. So before, I know that hour has gone by so fast,
Thank you,
right?
God.
I'm definitely going to have you back.
Anytime.
But before we wrap it up, I would like for you to leave some parting words with our audience.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. And what I want to say, even though I'm here by myself today as a guest, I have a great machine behind me, actually with me, besides my God. And there's a lot of brothers and sisters in the community who are busy every day, just like me, putting in the work to give back and help. So because I'm sitting in this chair, I'm a representative of myself and all of them as well. Y'all Time Entertainment, out for good behavior. Lives are meant to be changed. Follow suit. Tracy Washington, what's her name? I'm
Is it
losing it.
Darnish?
Tyler, China Tyler, state representative. Wawa and Big Will with the Nubian Foundation, community safety, helping out the elderly and everything else in Roxbury and Nubian Square. Katrina Cooley doing her thing. Like, there's a whole bunch of people, with different, Carlton Buford, with different, my man Darrell Buchanan, with different nonprofits and organizations, or who are just out there in general giving back to help people help themselves. And, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention some of them. And I know I didn't get everybody, but if you're out there giving back, doing the right thing, you part of that too. And you're greatly appreciated, and people need to know that
Absolutely.
we're all out there.
Absolutely.
And last but not least, to my beautiful children, love y'all. And show up Saturday for the Crown Act situation that's taking place at the ABCD building on Warren Street, formerly the Skycap Plaza. A lot of great information, and as much as it's hard to understand why two black young girls were kicked out of school because of their natural essence in their hair, and a law had to be passed in order to change that, you need to know your history, your culture, and your
Yes.
ethnicity. So show up Saturday.
Yes.
You'll learn some things.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. A couple of the people that you mentioned was actually guests on the show last season. Yard Time Entertainment.
Mathematics and Exit Fame. They all about the positivity and giving it up too.
Okay.
Can't
Okay.
forget my man Math.
I want to have him on the show too. Yes, yes, yes.
It's a must have.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, once again, this has been such a great, great show. We truly appreciate you and everything that you do. And like I said, we will definitely have you back. In closing, as always, I would like to bid you peace, love, and blessings. And remember, the best is still yet to come. Your girl, Steph.